Welcome to Hit or Miss. Today we're taking a look at Stellar Blade for the PS5. Now this is a game that I originally played the demo on twitch.tv/thisiswasabi. Come on by, I would love to see you there. But I originally played the demo when it first came out last month, and it was one of the surprise hits that I was not expecting, if I'm being entirely honest. It was a game that came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, what's this game? Oh shit. All right. Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I was like, the character looked hot as fuck. I was like, shit, you already get me kind of interested. Let me see what this is about. And so I downloaded the demo, and let me make this clear. I didn't really look at any demos or trailers or anything. I don't really do that for games often. If I see a demo's out for a game and people are raving about it, I'll just go and play it myself. If I see like a little bit of gameplay and it looks cool, then I'll say, all right, let me go see it for the rest of myself and see how I like it. And then that's kind of where I form my own opinion. I don't really like going into games, looking at trailers and seeing everything spoiled about it. Just like this game, I didn't really watch many trailers. All I did was play the demo for it. And then I was like, I'm sold. I'm not going to look at anything else. Once it comes out, I'm playing it. And that was pretty much it. And so coming into this game, I was already under the impression of a couple things that I wouldn't say that I was expecting, but just things that I noticed. This is a very, I wouldn't say similar game in the sense of like Nier, but it's obviously very heavily inspired by it, but I don't say that as a bad thing. That is a very good thing if you're someone who loves Nier. The only thing I will say might disappoint you is just the combat. If you're coming into it expecting combat like Nier, of course, Nier's combat was done by Platinum Games. It's a very different combat system. There's of course a couple maybe slight similarities here and there, but it's its own unique. And the combat for Stellar Blade, of course, is the biggest highlight for it, and of course what everyone has praised it for, myself included. I'll get to that in a second. But the combat is it's like light Soulsborne. It's that's pretty much the way people call it, right? Soulsborne type games. What it means by that is if you play Dark Souls, Elden Ring, anything made by From Software, then you have seen their combat style and the type of games that they produce. And so there is own little genre of spin-off games that are heavily inspired by that as well, which is very heavily inspired combat where it's pretty much your focus is trying to either parry, guard, dodge. And then you have a system set up where if you need to sit there and restore health, you have like a flask, and this game is like a little health potion. And then if you sit there and run out, then guess what? If you need to go back and get more, then you have to go to a bonfire, which in this game is a camp, and then you go back to the camp, you get it refilled, and then you go back out there again. The game is pretty much trying to punish you if you sit there and make the wrong moves, and so you have limited type of health potions, and you can't just keep restoring it. But this game is in a sense a light Dark Souls or a light Soulsborne type of game, if that makes sense. I'm kind of going all over the place, but I'll touch on the story real quick. It's not really a big highlight, I'm gonna be honest with you. The story is whatever. As some other people have already said, you don't really come into this game to care about the story too much. It's all right. It's passable. It's not really horrible. I know a lot of the big complaints people have had has been about the dialogue. The voice acting is very flat. It's very monotone, very basic. And after beating the game, I can see where they were trying to go with the voice direction for it. I don't want to go into spoilers for the story, but I can see why some things are as flat, why the characters sound the way they do. Would it have been nicer if there was a lot more emphasis, a lot more excitement, a lot more just not being flat? Yeah, I think that would have been great for the story and for the characters and voice acting, just the overall package. But it wasn't like a deterrent where I was like, oh my god, this is horrible to listen to. I can't even bear to listen to this. It wasn't that bad. No shot, bro. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. But again, on another token, this is a $70 game, so I can understand why people would expect great voice acting if you're paying $70. You want a full package. That is a lot of money to be asking for to have something be subpar. But at the end of the day, people are not really coming into this game because they're like, oh my god, this story is fucking amazing. The trailer sold me. I need to play this. No, people are not buying it for that. You either land into two camps or into both camps. You think the main character's fine as fuck and you're like, oh my god, hey, yo, hey, I'm sold just on her alone. Or you're like, the combat is fun as fuck. It looks great. I can't wait to play more of this. I love Soulsborne games and this is right up my alley. Or you're in both camps where you believe in or where you like both. And for me, that's where I'm at. I'm in both camps. I think the character's fine as fuck. You already sold me there. And then on top of that, you got Soulsborne style combat. I'm like, hey, let's go. You put two of my favorite things together. So I am having a blast. But yeah, the story's all right. It's passable. I don't really want to touch on it because there's really not much to say about it. If you're in for something that's kind of like a sci-fi-esque, androids, robots, something kind of like a cryptid story. The whole purpose of the main game is you're coming from Mother Spear, from the top brass at the top. You're coming down to Earth to try and eliminate the enemies and then eradicate them. And that's pretty much the story. And then there's a lot of twists and plot twists and things that unravel. Are they good twists? Are they good plot twists? Not really. I saw some of that shit coming. I wasn't really too surprised by it. It's pretty predictable story. But again, this isn't really a game that you buy for the story. Now, moving on to the meat and potatoes of this game, which is the combat. It is super fucking satisfying. I will say that so many times. It is very satisfying to play. And I think that there's a good amount of depth to it where you're not really going to feel like it's bland. For me, this game did a very good job at trying to keep spicing things up as you went down the game. The game play length of round for me was about 20 hours, give or take 20, 25, probably, if I'm being honest. And I would say for the most part, it kept me intrigued with always introducing new mechanics throughout the game. That was always pretty surprising. I want to say by midway through the game, I still had like one more skill tree that was locked, and I was like, man, what else could you be introducing into this game? This game does a really good job at making the Soulsborne formula feel more accessible to people who maybe wanted to dabble into it, but doesn't like the challenge of it, or it just finds it too hard, but really still wants to try and enjoy it. And what I mean by that is you have a store where you can buy potions on top of the regular flask that you get when you get refilled at the camp. You can buy actual potions, and then you can buy things like I forgot what it's called, but there's an option, there's an item that you can buy so that anytime you die, within that same battle or that same round, before you go back to camp, you can revive once. And if you want to refill that ability to come back alive, then you have to buy another one, but then it gets refilled when you go back to the camp. So if you sit there and you get killed while you're in a battle, you can come back to life. And then on top of that, you do have extra potions on top of the regular potion that you already get from the camp. It's very accessible, very beginner friendly. You even have a story mode option, so that if shit's really just fucking hitting the fan and you're just like, just say I'm done with this shit, you have that option as well too. I had to use it myself. I ain't gonna lie. I spent over an hour doing one boss fight. It was so fucking irritating. And I was just at the point where I was like, I'm done, bro. I'm done. And that's how I did and it was for the last two boss battles of the game. There's probably things that I could have done to sit there and probably have a better gear setup, probably better skill loadout. I just wasn't going to go through all that. After you do one boss battle for so long, you're like, fuck, I just want to be done with this. And that's kind of where I was at. But the good thing about it is I had the option to turn down the settings if I was just really upset with the game. But for those who really want to challenge, remember, this is on normal mode too. Once you beat the game, you have a hard mode. So if you like a really fucking hard challenge, I guarantee this game will deliver it for you without no problem. You will have a blast with this shit. If you enjoy a satisfying combat system that is also challenging and that you want something that's even more challenging after you beat the game, this game is definitely going to be for you. The game also does a good job at having different locations. I kind of wish that it wasn't all taking place underground for about half of the game. It felt like the open world, they do have some parts where it's very open world-esque. It's all right, nothing too crazy. It was fine. A lot of it's typically pretty much used for side missions. I want to say probably about like 10 of them. I did it's like a job board, and then you can actually go talk to actual citizens, and then you can have side missions from them. I did some of them. I wasn't too keen on doing all of them. This game didn't really feel too satisfying to do it. I didn't really feel the incentives to go and do all the side missions, so I kind of skipped most of them. But I mean, from what I played, if you skip the job board, they're like bounty boards, essentially. If you skip those and just do the actual side missions themselves, there is a decent story that can be completed along with it, and I think it will be worth your time. The game also does a great job at having varied enemy designs. I didn't really feel like I was seeing the same enemy over and over and over. Every new location I went to, it felt like there was fresh designs and it wasn't actually repeats, or I was like, oh fuck, I saw this one already. Again? You're using this again? Never happened. Never crossed my mind. The boss fights are also very fun. Overall, dog, I will say they do a great job with the boss fights and just making it feel fun to do. Minus the last two that I did were just really fucking annoying, but that's probably like a skill issue in all honesty. But overall, the boss battles, fun as fuck. I enjoy them. Have QTE moments. Wasn't super in your face. Just at the very end, like a finisher to finish the boss off, but you already had to get the health bar down, so you don't have to worry about getting in your way. They also have really cool set pieces. At certain points, you're just doing this or you're doing that. They have different types of things to unlock treasure chests. Like it has a lot of variety. And I see there's so much passion and so much innovation in the sense of them just trying to do different things so it doesn't feel stale, and I congratulate them on that and I applaud them. Sure, you can sit there and say as a whole package it doesn't really do anything new, it doesn't really bring anything new to the table, but it's still a very fun game. And to some people, while it might be seen as a downside that it feels very heavily inspired by Nier at times, I think that's a very good benefit in my opinion. Nier is a great game. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by it. And throughout my time playing it, I never felt like I was like, oh fuck, I'm playing Nier all over again. It never felt like that. I just felt like I was playing a game that was heavily inspired by Nier, but it didn't detract from the game's own unique personality and style, if that makes sense. Continuing on things that this game was inspired by Nier on, the music as well too. But to go in hand with that, people who worked on Nier's music actually worked on music for this game as well too. So if you're wondering, oh shit, this music sounds really similar, like this came from Nier, that's the reason why. The people who worked on the music for Nier also worked on music for this game, which is obviously a very big, it's a bonus. It's a big plus because the music in this game is fucking fire. I am a sucker for beautiful soundtracks and OSTs that get me hyped because I always want shit to add to my playlist after I finish a game. And this game, pretty much all songs that I've heard, I want to add to my playlist and I can't wait for it to go on Spotify. That's how fire this soundtrack is. I don't care what anybody says. This soundtrack is just straight heat and I really enjoyed listening to it beginning to end. Every single moment in this game, the music felt like it fit. It was just fire. It was going in hard. It was just a complete package. And like whenever a boss battle is about to start and you hear the music going off, you're like, oh shit, hey, yo, we're getting in here. Like you're getting hyped. You're just getting yourself pumped up. You know, that's like what I enjoy so much about OSTs. And I love when they're able to capture that feeling. And it did it so well for this game. Overall, dog, this game is definitely a hit. The only thing I will say is whether or not it's worth $70 is really up for you to decide. It depends what you come into this game looking for. I've told some people, in my personal opinion, I think this game is better off for $50, especially if it ever comes to PC, which I really hope it does because I will buy it again. That's how much I enjoyed this game. I really liked it a lot. I just don't know if I would say this is worth $70 depending on what you're coming into this game for. Again, it's about 20-25 hours long for the main story, but again, you do have New Game Plus and then you have the side missions that you can go through everything and try and 100% it. So there are still a lot of things to do, not just the main story. So even if you do beat it within 20-25 hours, you could probably get it out to about 40 from what I read people saying online. The only thing I would like to add in that I think was really janky that I think they could have done better on, and hopefully if they do make a sequel to this game, that they will work on it, is the platforming. They also have platforming mechanics in this game, which is cool to see another thing added onto the game to add more variety to the gameplay, but the platforming was very janky and you couldn't help but just scratch your head most of the times and wonder, why is this even in the game? If you're not going to do it right, why even have it? Like, it's not to say that it's awful and that it's terrible. You're just going to be like, oh my God, I can't even play the game because of this. But you're going to be kind of like, I kind of wish y'all would have cooked a little bit longer with this feature or just never put it in to begin with. But again, it's not terrible. It's just one of those things where I kind of wish they would have cooked on it some more and had it more polished, because it is kind of an integral part of the gameplay loop. At least there are certain parts of the game, and I feel like there's points in the game where you kind of just fall off, or you fall from standing on a rail, or you're trying to grab something, you just die. And it's typically because the way the mechanics work isn't really that polished, and you're kind of just, it just fucking sucks. I'm just being real. But again, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just one of the few things that actually stood out to me that I wanted to add on as the one negative if I had to like find something on what I actually didn't like about the game. But besides that, everything else is still fine. Anyways, again, this game is definitely a hit. I love everything about it. Sure, the story is fucking lackluster. It's not really anything memorable. You're not going to see anybody say, oh my God, the story took me away. I was just fucking, oh my God. No, you're not really going to see people saying that except for maybe a couple of diehard fans, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. You enjoy the story, more power to you, dog. Hey, go for it. But ultimately, of course, the majority of people are going to be buying this game for the main character and the combat. Anyways, you made this far into the video. Consider giving a like, subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment below what you think. Have a great day. Yeah.